Everyone, how's it going? Another live stream today. It felt like it's been a bit of a wait since the previous one. Finally, my cat has left the room as the second I literally start this. How perfect timing. Anyway, he's gone. So, today we're going to be looking at the new unit and arc, obviously. That's going to be the main focus of the stream. I think he's quite interesting, honestly. He's mostly going to be a tank unit, but we'll talk about him in a second. Also, today, this is kind of the celebration of the 6 million downloads event thing, which there isn't really too much going on, honestly. It's just like a normal event with some story and a new unit and arc and not much else going on, but we do get a few free gifts, which is nice, but we'll have a look at that soon. So let's first have a look at the unit. So we've got Gilbert, which is a unit from the story, and I do like story units, but I haven't finished the current story. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but I haven't got around to doing it just because I've been putting it off, because I know once I've done it, then there won't be any more story content left, so I'm just waiting on that. I don't know when I'll finish the story, but there's probably some lore or something behind Gilbert. I don't really know much about him. I just know from the trailer and what I've seen from there so far. I haven't seen much in the story at all. I really should see it. So, he is the first of the 4 Imperial Kings, so I'm assuming that they're probably going to release all 4 of the Imperial Kings in this game eventually. Like, if you remember with the 3 Emperors, it's probably going to be something similar to that, but not the same, because they're not going to release at the same time. It would be very cool if they did something like that again, but I don't see that happening. So Gilbert is the first one. Honestly, he looks kind of like Thor, but with a sword. Like, that's just what I think. Looks nice. He's going to be a knight type, which I did expect, and I wasn't really sure what I was expecting from him when I saw the teaser, but from the video he is mostly going to be a tank unit, so his DPS potential isn't really going to be there. It's mostly him as a tank, and that isn't really something that I test in the streams. I mostly just test out their damage and stuff like that, so we'll still try them out later anyways. So, Knight type Gilbert. I do have a few questions about him, but I'll talk about those later. First of all, he's got good HP, strength, defense, looks pretty nice, mind is not terrible either. Intelligence doesn't matter, because it just doesn't matter with him, he's just a tank. So, the HP and defense are probably the 2 most important stats for him, especially HP, because he does have something in his kit that reduces his match HP, and he does have a lot of interesting things, but I just don't know how he's going to perform at the moment, because right now the most tankiest physical tank that we have in the game is Garland. I don't think Gilbert is going to compete with Garland as the best tank, because Garland is a god type, and I just think he's probably way better as a tank. I just like him a lot. He's probably the best one at the moment. Absolute resistances, -20 to Earth, is going to be a big problem, and here's why. He's supposed to be a tank, right? But he's Thunder, and he's a Knight type, so I don't know how he's going to perform against a Guile, and that's probably the main question most people are thinking of, is can he tank a Guile? I don't know. There's a chance he can because of one of his skills, but I'm assuming if he doesn't have that buff active, then he's probably just going to die all the time from a Guile, but I don't know. I'm just guessing because he has Earth weakness, and he's also a Knight type, and Guile has Human Slayer on his counter attacks, so it's a bit of a problem, and I don't know how that will go, but we'll have to see. So, element resistances is quite important with this unit, and it does get me thinking a little bit, because he's weak to poison, and usually that's not a big deal, but we'll get back to those elements very soon. So I don't know how many pulls I'm going to do today, but I do definitely want to do at least a decent amount, because I think Gilbert will be worth having. But I don't think I'm going to pity because I'm trying to play smart at the moment, and I'm not really too worried about not getting him or anything at the moment, because I would like other people to test him in PvP content first, because if he ends up being very good in PvP, then I would probably want to pity him, but if he isn't super meta changing in PvP, then I don't think it's that important to pull for this guy, but we'll have to see how he performs later. Resistance to illness is useful. Nil to stun is useful. I just think definitely his biggest weakness is probably going to be poison, and I'll come back to that soon. So his abilities, his skill 1 is 7 hit long range thunder combo attack. Here's the thing I don't like, is he's supposed to be a tank, and his skill 1 is a long range attack. Now I know that's not the biggest deal, but it's still a bit annoying because you want him to be in the enemy's face, so you want him to be walking up to the enemy, and if he's using his skill 1 on auto, then he's not going to be walking towards the enemy. But Granadas has the same thing where he's got a long range skill 1, so it doesn't really matter that much. It would have been nice if it was the closer gap skill 1 or something, but it doesn't matter too much really. He isn't really going to be a DPS, but he probably can do some damage. I've tried him a little bit, and he can definitely do some damage, but that's not his main role for sure. His main role is definitely going to be a tank and a support because of his charisma that he's got, which is going to be great. His skill 2 is a lot of words, but the most important word in this is Anchor Bolt. That's what it's called, but as you know, all of the other skills in the game that have a lock-on effect also have Anchor in the skill name, which is quite interesting. So his skill 2 is 10 hits. Basically, is a charge, wide area thunder combo attack, transfer a temporary effect, making all enemies target units. So yeah, it's just the lock-on effect that's exactly the same as Ruuto and Granadas, and I have tested this, and this buff lasts 10 seconds, which is okay, and it is mostly used for PvP because it's just incredibly annoying. Because let's say I find Ruuto the most annoying if you are using a main physical DPS and you are locked on to Ruuto and you can't target anyone else. It's just incredibly frustrating that Ruuto can't die for those 7 seconds, and you're also locked on to attacking him, so he can't die and you can only attack him. It's just frustrating. But Gilbert at least has the buff, but he is kind of similar in a way to Ruuto because he does have some invulnerability, but we'll get to those skills soon. Well, so if you don't care about PvP, then he is not going to be as useful, but he is still useful because of his charisma, so he does have good usage in PvE only because of charisma. And what I would probably use him for is a tank / support in PvE. I would probably just make him the tank Honey Elixir spam FCT unit, so I put on Honey Elixir, give him Goddess Kiss, and just make him a FCT unit just for the sake of it, because that's usually good. But it's because of his charisma, which makes him very good in PvE. That's the only reason. There's no other reason apart from his charisma. He synergizes very well with 2P in PvE because 2P has very good DPS on her skill 3 especially, so you could pair Gilbert with 2P in PvE content and do very well because that will increase 2P's damage cap by a lot more. The synergy in Arena isn't really there, it doesn't matter, you don't really need Gilbert and 2P, it's only got a synergy in PvE because his charisma won't buff counter damage or anything, it's only skill and special damage. Well, yes, it can work with Ryu. That's probably the only other unit currently that it was synergized with, but 2P's the main one. 2P and Ryu, I think, are the only 2 Thunder DPS units that we have at the moment, but 2P's definitely the better option. Ryu can work though. Skill 3, Thor Hammer, makes sense. 16 hits, there isn't really too much about this skill 3. It's just another charge attack. Honestly, his skills aren't a big deal. I say his skill 2 is the most important, so if you are using him in PvP, then skill charge 2 and skill stock 2 may be useful, I think. I'm trying to think of how he would work in Arena, but I can't say yet, because he has potential, but it's a bit weird. So, his special is quite weird, is a strange one. So it's a powerful combo attack to one enemy, and it says a lot of damage cap, 1.5 million. I know it's a lot of numbers, but it's only 2 hits, which I know that sucks, but it's a lot of damage cap, and he does have another skill which can increase his special damage cap by a lot, so it could be okay, but I don't think his special is going to be that great, in my opinion. And it's only to one enemy, so I don't really care about it too much. If it was against all enemies, then I think it could have been pretty good, but I won't use him for just special damage, just because I don't think it's that great. So, now we get onto the traits, which always gets more interesting. So, trait 1, we start off with the basic thunder damage 40% and damage cap 40,000, which is very nice. But honestly, it doesn't matter too much because he's mostly going to be a tank, but you could use him as a DPS if you really want to. When hitting an absolute weakness with thunder, then 40% more damage and 40,000 more damage cap more. That's great. Really good. So, if you really wanted to, you could try to make him a DPS, but I think you would need to make sure you're hitting the enemy's weakness, which isn't going to happen all the time, but can be doable with like Theopolis and stuff. When another ally has thunder skills, add the effects to the charisma, so we might as well look at the charisma first then. So yeah, this is just the same as the other charismas we've seen in the past, but it's for thunder instead, so all allies thunder skill and special damage, 20% of damage cap, 2000. This is only to skill and special damage and cap, so keep that in mind. The only unit in the game currently that has their charisma that applies for magic is Zekus Forgate. His charisma can apply to magic, but no other unit can. It was specific to him. I was secretly hoping Gilbert would have some kind of counter damage charisma, but I was just hoping that because it would synergize with 2P and make her even better, but we don't need that. That was just an if, a big if. It could have been, oh, it could apply to counter now, and now 2P's damage is even higher. I'm kind of happy they didn't do that, because that would have been stupid. Very stupid. So when there's one ally with thunder skills, then it boosts the damage by 20% and damage cap by 6,000, which is very nice. And then when equipped with only one weapon, boost damage cap by 8,000 when you have 2 allies with thunder skills. And then when you have 3, cut physical damage taken by 30%, which is very good. So you could have a thunder team, which probably wouldn't be viable, and then you could get everyone in the team will take 30% less physical damage, which I think will be very good. But the problem with it is if you're up against a Rabala in PvP, then you're just going to die, because if everyone's thunder, everyone's going to be weak to earth and you're just going to die horribly. So I wouldn't recommend a full thunder team for PvP, but against PvE content you could potentially do something with this, I think. I think it's going to be very nice. You do get a hell of a lot of damage caps here, so in total, if you've got enough thunder allies in the team, 2 thunder allies, then you're going to have 16,000 damage cap to a single wield thunder unit, which can include Ryu, which is a lot, and that's why these charisma units are always very good. Like the last one we got was Kaine, which was for fire. It's very similar, but Gilbert's just for thunder instead. So trait 2 gets a lot more interesting. These are more focused on tank skills. When using a skill can't be interrupted by most attacks, can be good. I don't think he's going to be a DPS in Arena. I really don't think it's a good idea at all. It's a big if. Definitely not. So when attacked with an attribute whose resistance was at least 0 before battle start and made -1 or less from an effect taken in battle, I'll simplify that. Make resistance 0 and then take damage. So I will make it easier to understand by saying what this actually means is, let's say your absolute resistance of fire is 0. So you go into the battle, it starts at 0, but you get inflicted by weakness. So now your fire weak resistance is now -20. If you get hit by a fire attack, then it's going to count as the resistance being 0 instead of -20, if that makes sense. So let's say if you even have -100 earth resistance for whatever reason, well, it should count as 0 weakness when you get hit, which is very good, and I think this is the first time we've seen something like this. Granadas does have a kind of similar trait, but not this same way. I think it was, I don't remember, probably not flinching or something, but it was very nice. -1 or less, make it 0 and then take damage. One question I have though is, if you have weakness and you get hit by an attack and it makes it 0, does the enemy that attacked you still get the damage boost from weakness type skills like weak point boost? That's the question that I have right now. And I think what you could definitely do, and what you should be doing, is make his earth resistance at least 0. So increase his earth resistance by 20 and make it at least 0. And that will mean that this trait will be active for his earth and absolute resistance, and then it will apply to all of his resistances, which will be very nice. So that's probably what I'd recommend in PvP for sure. That would be very nice. Armor equipped, armor defense and mind 100%. Doesn't matter too much, there's a bit more stats. Physical and counter damage taken -40%, which is very funny because it includes counter damage now. As you know, everything has been focused on counter damage recently in PvP. And nullify defense piercing effects from enemy attacks, which is always very good and is kind of expected on tanks at this point. Pretty much almost every tank has nullify defense piercing effects. I know Granadas does, and a few others probably do, so it's just very useful. Because then you can stack a bunch of defense, and they can't pierce your defense. It's very nice. So, I do like this trait 2 more. I think it's more interesting than the trait 1. The trait 1 is more basic for damage and damage caps, but it does boost the charisma, so I do like that part for the charisma. But the trait 2 is only focused on PvP pretty much. I think it's very good. I do think it's very nice. We'll have to try this out at some point. I am very interested to see how he performs in PvP because I do think he does have some good potential. It's just I don't know how he's going to perform. That's the problem. So now let's get into the skills. There are quite a few interesting skills in here. So we start off with the basic ones. HP up max, attack up max. He doesn't really need attack up, honestly. Resolve up 4 and max. Nice. Defense. Even more defense and HP is nice. Advanced guard vitals. Guard, heal guard. Guard charge, guard impact. I do like guard impact because it's not on a arc yet. Chance to make nearby enemies flinch when guarding is just annoying in PvP, so not many units have this. It's nice. He could have had more guard skills, but honestly it doesn't really matter too much because you can just put them on him and that'll be fine. Soldier Shield 2. So, take less damage from soldier types. Instantly you think of Guile and Claude. Especially Guile. I don't know if he can tank Guile yet. I hope so, but I don't know. It's going to require testing, which I can't do today. It's going to have to be whenever other people test him out. Night Zone 2, I do like this one. Enemy attention drawn +2 is amazing for tanks, and that's his main role, so this will be perfect for him. And you also take 15% less frontal physical damage, which is going to help tank a bit more. Night Mastery, so he gets an anti-soldier type effect and takes 10% less damage from soldiers. Very nice. And 10% more defense. Very nice, so take even less damage from soldiers. I assume he should probably tank Guile, which is frustrating because Guile was released not long ago. Human Shield, even less damage from a Guile, yeah, sure. I do know his main counter at the moment, but we'll get into that in a minute. Auto Grab Rate, Fort, 35% defense buff, continuously, very nice. Auto Haste will help with his skill 2 because his skill 2 is his most important skill in his kit because of the lock-on effect buff, debuff. Thunder High Drive and Giga Drive doesn't matter too much, honestly. Unless you want him to be a DPS, then I guess that's a good thing. Magellan Shield, very useful. Allure just helps. Favored Sword, Two-Handed Sword. These skills are useful if you care about his DPS, but I'm mostly thinking of him as a tank. These skills could have been replaced by tank skills instead to make him even more tanky, but I don't know. I guess it's fine. Armor HP +3, even more HP is quite a lot. He's going to have a lot of health. Probably not as much as Garland, because he has a lot. Especially if you put on every single HP up skill, which is quite a lot. Maybe similar or something, I don't know. It's probably going to be pretty high. Skill charge 2, he's already got this, so don't need to worry about it. You could put on skill stock 2, I would probably recommend that. I don't know how many stocks he has, haven't had a look at that. Probably at least 2. Indomitable Spirit, survive and recover HP when taking lethal damage is useful. And now the unique skills for this unit, so this gets a lot more interesting. We start with the first one, Explosive Blast. I don't know much about this yet, so sizably shorten faint time, whatever that means, I don't know. That would require testing, which I can't really do right now, but there's a big if that it could be very good. When recovering from faint, restore HP by 50% and give a strength 65% buff, which is a lot, and HP gravity cap of that healing is plus 20,000. So this has a chance to be very good, maybe. A big maybe. The reason why I'm saying that is it depends what this actually means and how much this shortens the faint time. Let's say you could shorten his faint time to like 5 seconds. I think that'll be pretty good. So then every 5 seconds, assuming he gets fainted, then he's going to heal for 50% health. It could be good, potentially, and when the unit is fainted, then they can't trigger the enemy's counter, which is quite important. And there could be some good synergy there. It could be very good, but it will require testing to really see how this actually does, because I don't know yet. Because if he's fainted, then he can't do anything, so he can't use his skill 2 to lock on to the enemy, so that's a problem, but we'll have to see. So, fulminator is the main skill I want to talk about, because it's quite interesting. A lot of words. The words look so small from here. When close to death, Ray would greatly restore HP and give unit the fulminator buff. Yeah, so once per wave, lose the buff after 12 seconds. Okay, so that means you can only get the buff once in PvP content, like Arena or Guild Battles, or when given a status ailment. That's the most important thing you have to remember. So, he loses the buff after he gets a status ailment, and if you go back to his status ailments, he's got weakness to poison. So that's his weakness. If you inflict poison on him, then he's going to lose the buff instantly. So V is probably his worst enemy, for sure. V is going to be his worst enemy because there's no way that a Gilbert will have nil +1 to every single status ailment. No way. So for that reason, I think the V is just going to slaughter this skill because of the fact that he loses the buff after he gets a status ailment. And that does kind of balance it a little bit because this could just be quite bad because you can just lose it instantly because you get inflicted by poison or something. I'm a bit worried about it, but I have to try that out at some point. So when the fulminator buff is active, then you get max HP minus 95%, which is weird, but enemy attention drawn +2 and physical magic counter attack damage taken minus 99%. So you may think this is pretty crazy, which it is, but I don't know. This is the skill that I have many questions of, and it will require a lot of testing to really see if it's good or not, because yes, you take 99% less damage from everything, physical magic and counter damage, but can you still die from, you know, any damage? Let's say you get hit by a magic attack, can it be strong enough to still kill him with this buff active is the question. Even if he takes 99% less damage, because he has so little health with this active, that's what I don't know at the moment. And also, there's one big counter to this, and that is 9S. And you may be thinking why. Well, 9S has a support attack trait, right? And that doesn't count as any of these attacks, it counts as arc skill damage. So Gilbert will still take full damage from 9S support attack. So if you're against a 9S, then Gilbert is just going to die instantly if he has this buff active. So that's one thing to think about and can counter this 100%. Saint Grafel, well, I don't have Saint Grafel, so I don't remember what she does because I completely forgot she existed because she wasn't that great, so I didn't pull her. When I don't pull a unit, or if I don't pull something, I usually just forget about it completely and forget it exists because I don't have it, so if it don't exist on my account, then it don't exist at all, and I can just forget about it. That's usually what I think, in most cases. So yeah, I can't really say much about Grafel. But yeah, I think this is an interesting skill, but I don't know how well it's going to do. This will require testing, but it's got a very few counters already, one being ailments, and most importantly V. If you're up against a V, you're probably screwed. And you're probably going to lose this buff, and this buff will never be active if you're up against a V. And the second one is 9S. You're probably just going to die if you're up against a 9S. So, yeah. Guildmaster. I'm not really too keen on this one because it's just too specific and I don't like it. When defending in guild battle only. That's why I don't like it. Battle start, boost all allies' HP by 5,000 and restore HP permanent until incapacitated. It's good, but I don't like that it's specific to defending in guild battles. I don't like it. Just because, why? Like, why? Because it means it's not going to be active in arena, it's not going to be active in PvE, it's not going to be active on your attack team if you use them in guild battles attack team. It's only going to be active in defending guild battles. So I don't like it. I hate it. But it is good. It's just I don't like it because it's too specific. When a thunder weapon is equipped, which you're probably going to have, maybe, depending, I don't know. Thunder / ice damage taken minus 30% is pretty good. Battle start add 50% of strength to defense. That's pretty good. So, if you have ways to increase his strength, then that will increase his defense technically because of this. But it's only at the start of battle, so if you get a strength buff, it doesn't really matter. It only matters if you've got more strength at the start of battle, before you go in the battle. Don't really need to focus on that too much. But the most important thing here is you take less thunder and ice damage. So he should be able to tank 2p, potentially, maybe, hopefully, probably can. Power Smash, but even if he can tank 2p, it doesn't even matter because she's just going to kill everyone else anyway. Boost special damage and cap based on number of attacks taken. This is another interesting one for his special. So for thunder attacks, count 1 hit as 3 hits. So if you're taking thunder damage, then it counts each hit as 3 hits instead of 1. Maximum damage plus 200% and damage cap plus 200% at 300 hits, and resets when using a special / each wave. So if you go to his special, it gives 1.5 million damage cap. So if you've taken the equivalent of 300 hits, then it will add 200% more cap onto that. So I'm just going by 1.5 million because it's a lot easier to work that out. So 1.5 million and you add 200% more, which means you add 3 million more. Now you're at 4.5 million damage cap, which is not bad, but it's still not great. I think it'll be okay, but it definitely doesn't make it special amazing. It makes it decent, but in most cases it's not really going to matter too much. So yeah, I don't really like this skill too much. It's okay, gives his special a bit more damage and it's interesting, but I've not really been that interested in specials recently, well, for quite a while, because the content doesn't require you to use your specials for damage, at least, so isn't really a big deal. And then his 6th enhance just gets more damage cap, take less physical damage, and magic damage. So I think this is all quite good, and it's very clear that his main role is going to be a tank. He does have quite a few interesting skills, most importantly this one. I think this one's going to be interesting to see how it performs, but it could be good, it could be bad. What you could do is you could just unequip the skill, because then if you know you're going up against a 9S, you could just remove this and then 9S shouldn't be able to kill you. That's what I'm thinking. Because it reduces your max HP by 95%, you may not want to use it, but I don't know. It's going to require testing for a lot of this. I think this one, Explosive Blast and Fulminator, are the two that I'm most interested in. They could be good, they could be bad, or just not, you know, not really, doesn't really matter too much. We'll have to see. He does look very good. I do like his charisma because it's the thunder charisma that we've been needing for a while, and it will synergize with 2P, so I think him with 2P will be a very good team in PvE. I think that'll be nice. You can make him the tank / support and put in 2P as the main damage dealer, and that's kind of all you need. You could have a support healer, so you could have Renna in the team, so you could have Renna, Gilbert, 2P as a PvE team, and you can probably clear everything in the game with that team alone. I think that'll be very good in PvE. PvP will require a lot of testing because he has potential to be another top tier tank, and he could maybe tank counters like 2P and Guile, but I don't know yet. If he can, then I think he will be quite useful in guild battles and arena, but at the moment I'm not entirely sure. I think at the moment I'm going to wait for other people to test him in arena, and depending on his performance, I think that will depend on if I want to pull him or not. I do still want to try and get him today, but if I don't get him, if I don't get lucky, then I'm just going to be doing daily pulls and waiting for others to test him first, because that's the smartest thing to do, I think. And probably what most people should do is, if you care about PvP at all, then probably just wait for other people to test him in arena first and see what other people think, because I don't know right now. He does have some good potential, some good skills, but always requires testing. But if you don't care about PvP, then I still think it's going to be a solid unit because of his charisma. And if you have someone like Ryu or 2P, then he will be good for your account, but he isn't something you need that badly. But if you feel like you need a tank, then he would be useful for you, for sure. And now let's go on to the arc. This arc is another UR arc. Now, I'm not super excited about this just because it's a UR arc. I really wanted there to be a SSR arc because we haven't had an SSR arc in 4 months. And that's just very sad. They really need to release more SSR arcs because it's getting ridiculous at this point. The arcs over the past 4 months have been limited rare arcs or ultra rare arcs, and that just sucks because they're all limited. Everything over the past 4 months have been limited, and that sucks because free-to-play players or people that don't spend much can't get everything, and there's no way to get new arcs from the permanent pool because they're not SSR, so it just sucks. The stats of this arc are okay. It's never really an important thing. It has good defense and HP. I guess that's good. The trait, it doesn't have an arc skill because the trait is stronger apparently. I do think it's a good trait. All attribute damage taken minus 20%, so this will count for every damage taken. So this will count towards counter damage, so you take 20% less counter damage as long as it has an attribute. If you're taking non-attribute damage, then this won't count, I believe, because it's attribute damage taken. It has to be an attribute. Yeah, standard Mia, you could use her if you really want to. And Suzaku. Suzaku's not that bad. He is a decent DPS, but not the best because 2P kind of definitely overperforms. Performs better than him, but those two are a bit older, so I kind of forget about them at this point. Mia isn't really used as her DPS. She's mostly used for her buffs. Suzaku could be used though. Maybe. Would be interesting. So, Battlestar add 15% of your defense to your strength. Could be good. Maybe. I can see some synergy there. If you've got a hybrid tank / DPS unit who has high defense and strength, then this will benefit them. Give a defense plus 50% buff for 10 seconds. Okay. That is good, but here's the problem with this. If you've already got Fort or Grand Fort, then you're not really going to be getting that much of a bonus from this. Gilbert has a Grand Fort effect already, which is 35% defense buff. This 50% defense buff won't stack because it should be the same icon, so basically you're just going to be getting 15% more defense for 10 seconds, which isn't that big of a deal. But for units that don't have a defense buff or can only get 4, it will be a bigger difference for them. Give all allies an absolute weakness damage taken minus 20% buff. This is very nice. It doesn't say it's for 10 seconds, so I'm assuming this buff is for 40 seconds, which will be very good. I do like this trait. I can see this trait being useful in PvP, and it would be nice to have to use for the trait, because it would probably be one of the better arc traits in the game for a tank. And the fact that this absolute weakness buff is to everyone in the team, I do like that. I think this would be very good in guild battles on your defense to build a tank team. I think this would be very nice. So yeah, I do like this trait. It's not super crazy, nothing amazing, but it is still very good. And it would be worth having, it would be worth using, but let's go over to the learnable skills next. So we've got counter shield is probably the most important one here. You take 20% less counter damage. Now, I don't like this because this is another counter skill on a limited arc. In this case, it's on a UR arc, in which that just sucks, because pretty much almost every counter skill is on a limited collab arc or on a UR arc, and it's just very annoying, because if you're a newer player or someone that doesn't have those limited arcs or UR arcs, then your counter units aren't going to be performing as well as other players' counter units, which is very unfair and I don't like it. And especially when you can get counter shield from a UR arc and put it on Gilbert or anyone, you can allow anyone to take less counter damage if you get this UR arc. So I don't really like this UR arc because of it, because counter shield is going to be useful and pretty much everyone would like to have counter shield, but it really should not be on a UR arc. It should be on an SSR arc instead, but they're not releasing SSR arcs. That's what I think. Life Fort, pretty sure we've had that already, doesn't really matter too much. Fair and Square I think is good, but I don't know if I would use it just because it's too expensive. 20% more physical damage and 2000 damage cap to enemies without status ailments. For 14 SC, I don't know if I would use it just because there are other skills that I would rather use for damage caps and physical damage. So if it was like 11 SC, I'd definitely consider using it. But since it's 14, I don't know if I would use it or not. I'll have to think about it. But I just think it's a bit overpriced. Armor Mega Boost, again, a bit overpriced. I probably wouldn't use it. You get 20% more defense and take 10% less physical damage and 10% less damage taken from bosses. Yes, it's good, but I don't think I would ever use this, really. You would not want to use it in PvP because the damage taken from bosses does not apply in PvP. Damage taken from non-bosses applies in PvP, but not bosses because they're not bosses. So yeah, I think the learnable skills are decent. The only skill that stands out to me is Counter Shield, but this should be on an SSR arc, so I wouldn't recommend to pull for this arc if you only care about Counter Shield, because I can imagine this skill being available on an SSR arc in the future, because I think it's ridiculous that it's on a UR arc right now. Arckeeper reward is an accessory, gives HP and strength. The trait is thunder attack damage plus 10% and physical attack damage taken minus 5%. So here's the thing, it's thunder attack damage. Reason why I'm saying that is it's all thunder damage, which means you can put this on 2p and increase her counter damage by 10%, which you could do, and that will also allow her to take 5% less physical damage. So yeah, I think this accessory will be very good for 2p, for sure. Would I use it over other accessories? I'm not sure, because there is another accessory which may be better, which gives 15% counter damage and allure more enemy attention +1. I think that's probably more valuable in PvP, but I still think this accessory is very good. Doesn't give any ailment resistances, but it does give +5 to ice, which I guess is something. So it's a good accessory. The learnable skills are okay, the traits pretty good, but I definitely don't recommend a chase for it. It's definitely not worth pitying. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm probably going to try to get it, but I'm not going to be chasing for it that much. I'm just going to be doing some pulls to try to get it, but not chase too hard for it, and I'll just stick with my tickets and daily pulls just to hope to get it, but I'm not going to be pulling very hard for it. It would be nice if you could get it, but I don't think it's necessary. The trait, I think, will be very useful, and this arc is definitely a PvP focused arc, sadly enough, but it's not a game changer. You don't need it that badly, but it would still be very useful in PvP. Arguably, I think the arc on this banner is better because of Dear Hearts and Love Prison is just very good. I definitely think this Valentine B arc is better than the UR arc because it's also easier to acquire, because it's an LR arc, so it's got 0.8% rate up instead of a stupid 0.4%, and it's got lower pity as well, so I think this arc's definitely a better one to go for instead of this one. If you were to pull for one of these two banners, it's kind of up to you, really. I still don't have Alice, and I'm definitely going to be skipping her at this point, because I did a few more summons, but I'm not really too focused about getting her. Alice is mostly a PvE unit, and she's quite fun, but she isn't a meta unit by any means, so you don't really need her that badly, but if you do like her, then she's still a good unit. Which banner is better, I don't know yet. We're going to have to see. Maybe this banner, because it does have other DOH units in. It's got Thousa, Theria, Nael, Ryvan, Magnus. It's got good DOH units in, so it may be a better banner to pull than this one, because this one doesn't have the DOH units. It's only got permanent units. So if you're a newer player, I'd probably recommend the DOH banner instead, because it's got other DOH units available in this banner, which you could get lucky and get. Like, the Lily White Maiden Theria is pretty good. Divine Beast Thousa, not bad. Nael's pretty good PvP unit, you know. There's definitely some good units in here you could potentially get. So I wouldn't recommend that banner over the Valentine gacha, but you do have 2 weeks to decide. This lasts 28 days, this lasts 2 more weeks. So yeah, I'll leave that there for now. Let's have a look at Training Space and have a look at his paid equipments, which I haven't really looked too much at yet. So the event does have 3 tickets. Make sure to get those 3 tickets. I've already traded for those already, but make sure to get those tickets before you do any pulls if you do plan to do any. And yeah, there's just a basic event. There isn't really too much to talk about that. Valentine event, make sure to trade for everything. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure to trade for everything later. These prisms, I've already traded for everything there. Let's have a look at the paid equipment. So he's got a sword and a armor, which is expected. Sword is a thunder sword, stats or whatever. Guess they're okay. So the trait, I think, is decent. So the charisma gets 1000 more damage cap. Honestly, that isn't really a big deal. 1000 damage cap isn't gonna be a game changer or anything. It's not worth getting just for 1000 damage cap. Like, it doesn't really matter. Thunder attack damage 20%, alright. And battle start restore skills 2 SCT by 10 seconds. So this sword is good, but I think the main value of this sword is the restoring SCT of his skill 2. That is definitely the most important thing with this sword. Everything else doesn't really matter too much. If you like PvE content, then I guess the 1000 damage cap could be beneficial, but for long term. But I wouldn't really recommend to get this sword, just because it's not really super amazing. It's still pretty good, but I don't think I would get it. So the armor has pretty good defense, HP and mines looks okay, gives resistance to curse as well. So the traits, enemy attention drawn +1, okay, always useful to have on tanks, and 10% more HP, gonna be useful. Damage taken -20%, that's just all damage, so that's just amazing. Boost defense based on how little the unit HP is left, maximum of 50%. So I have a question with this, and that is, how does it synergize with the fulminator buff? Reason why I'm saying that is it makes your max HP -95%, so you may think, well, you're going to get a big boost from defense from this trait. I'm hoping that might be the case, but I don't know, because it's lowering your max HP, and it says based on how little unit HP is left. So let's say you've got your 5% HP that you currently have is counting you as being at max HP, so you don't get any defense boost. I don't know. That is going to require testing because I don't know right now. Maybe someone can try that out. But this has potential to synergize with the fulminator buff, but also not, because if you have the fulminator buff active, maybe that still counts as you being at max HP even though you have less health. I don't know yet. But I do think this armor is definitely going to be the better option for PvP. But if you don't care about PvP, then probably get the sword, maybe. I don't know. I just think the armor's more valuable, honestly. If I were to choose one, I would definitely get the armor, just because I like it a lot more than the sword. The sword doesn't really give too much, in my opinion. The damage cap doesn't really help too much. 20% damage doesn't really help if you're building him a tank, and then all you're getting is 10 seconds of SCT for his skill 2, which is good, but I wouldn't get the sword just for that. So I would probably recommend the armor instead. I think it's better, for sure. And if he does end up being a very good PvP unit, then I would probably consider getting this. But I would probably skip this sword. I don't know yet. The sword SCT does help with his skill too, but I don't think it's necessary. So yeah, I'll leave that there. His paid equipments are okay. I think his armor's pretty solid and actually pretty strong, but that's only if you care about PvP. If you don't care about PvP at all, then his armor isn't really going to benefit you too much, because all it's doing is making him more tanky, allowing him to take less damage. So if you don't care about PvP, then you don't really need this at all, and you shouldn't really need to worry about any of his armors. But even if you don't, even if you like PvP, you don't really need this, because there are other armors available, like the Godforge gold armor. It does a similar thing where it gives enemy attention drawn +1, take 20% less physical damage, chance to nullify damage taken. It's a pretty good Godforge armor, which you could use instead of this, so you don't really need this one. That's what I think of his paid equipments. I think they're solid. And then we've got normal trading space. I haven't done any pulls, I've only done the one single pull. Reason why I've got 11 medals is because if I go to the shop, there is a pack in the shop, which I did get. I got a lot of crystals recently because there were a few sales going on, so I wanted to stock up, but I'm not going to waste them. I'm going to be saving most of these. So this pack was pretty good. You don't need to get this. This is for 3,000 paid crystals. For most people, you probably shouldn't be getting this, but this gives a temple ticket and a few other materials, like 3 God Relic Prisms is the main reason why I wanted to get it. So I think it's good. So for now, talked about everything with Gilbert, so I guess I'll start summons now. I don't know how many we're going to be doing. It really depends how lucky we get, but I will be starting with tickets, which I do have a couple. So the 4 single tickets I got from the event, and the temple ticket, one of the temple tickets you get from logging in today. If you check your present box, you get a free temple ticket, which is nice. You have a temple ticket, as I said, I got it from that pack in the shop, so let's do these singles first. I don't expect anything from tickets at all. I doubt there's going to be anything new in tickets, or even a red, but we'll see. If we can get Gilbert, then that would be amazing, but I really don't think we're going to get anything here. This I would like to skip, but the Rhea showing up with everyone, it needs the animations, but there's probably not going to be any. 1 is not enough. 2 is probably still not enough. Yeah, it's probably going to be a gold. Oh, there's a red. I didn't think there would be a red. Can you be new? Probably not, no. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. So, one thing I want to say first is this banner is the same as the DOH banner. So the probability on this banner is the same. It's got rate up for the unit and it's got rate up for the arc, even though the rate up for the arc is very small. So you do have a somewhat decent chance to get something, but probably won't. I'm at least happy we got a red, because usually we don't get a red that early, but now I'm saying that, we're probably not going to get one in this temple. There's a blue, damn it. Looks similar to the last pull that we did, even though the last pull was 4 pulls. If we get at least 2 animations, there should be a red, maybe. If there's 0 or 1, I don't think there's going to be one. No, there's no red. Told you. Needs the animations to be able to give more luck. That's always the case. So that was the free 10-pull ticket, obviously disappointing. Let's do the last 10-pull ticket, and then I will start using some crystals, but I'm not going to be doing too many. Another Thuria, but can you be more lucky this time? No, you can't. Okay, this one's another nothing. No resin here either, but I'm just going to watch it anyway. Just because I like watching them. 2. No. Like I said, Thuria by herself and a blue is not going to be great. I would like to get Gilbert and the Arc, but if I were to have one over the other one, I would probably go for the Arc, obviously, but I'm hoping we at least get one of the two today. Because if we can, then I can at least say that I've gotten something and then I can stop. But I don't know if we're going to get anything today. I'm hoping. I'm probably going to do maybe around 100 maximum, we'll see. Because I would like to get Gilbert to try out in Arena, but I don't know if I will. This one's a skip. There's obviously nothing in those 2 pulls. You do get the medals from this, and the credentials, which is nice. And there's a free temple at the end. That's why I always like doing lap 1, because it's the cheapest one. After lap 1, I'm not going to continue, I think. We'll just do a few free crystals and see if we get anything. Then I'll probably try and rely on the daily pulls. Zekos needs to be a gold. There's a blue, it's not going to be anything, but I'll watch it anyways. Just to see, never mind. There's gold. Kinda knew there would be a gold there. Hopefully we can get a red from this pull now. There's 6 pulls, you're more likely to get a red, but I don't know. Can we? We've only got 1 red so far. We did have good luck at the beginning, but now we haven't had a red in a while. I guess nothing. Yeah, no reds in that one either. 3 golds, 3 blues, an even number of stuff, but whatever. Free 10 pull. Gotta love that. Probably not going to give anything though. When's the last time this free 10 pull's given me something? Ages ago? I can't remember. Really. The Rhea is the best one to show up, but the blue is the worst thing to show up. Everyone showing up is a good thing, but earlier we had like no animations and didn't get a red, so you really need to hope for the animations in this one. Otherwise there's probably going to be absolutely nothing in this one. 1 is probably not enough. Yeah, it's probably not enough. Oh, there's a red. Okay, I didn't think there would be. There's probably 1, 2, something new, please. Oh! Crap. I didn't think that would show up. Damn. That's a UR arc. That's surprising me. Can I get the unit next? No way. Obviously not. Yeah, that'll be funny. The UR arc, that's very good. That's a win. It's a big win. Because this is very good for PvP, so I'm happy that I got this. This can be used long term, so I do think this is a very good one to get. Counter shields, very nice one. Getting the UR arc is arguably the best thing to get from this banner because 400 pity you're most likely not going to do, so I'm very happy with that one. That's amazing. Now, we could try and get Gilbert, which I'm thinking about. I will definitely try, so I will be doing a few pulls to try and get him, but I think I'm going to try and be smart, like I said earlier. I'll do a couple of these. Then I'll save and wait for other people to test him if I don't get him here. The rear gold, can you give a red, please? We're looking for units now, only units. We just need units, but no dupes. Just, if we get Gilbert now, then we can finish and just be done with pulls for today. 1. No. There is a red. Okay. No extra animation, that's... Okay, there's 2. Can you be new? No, obviously not. There was a unit, but not the right one. We'll do another one. Maybe I will do a few singles after this temple. The Rhea's good. That's not good. That's better, but needs animations. Don't have hope though. Like I said, there's nothing in that one. Yeah. Tharia showing up with everyone and you get 0 animations is most likely going to be a nothing. Let's do some singles now, because why not? Have a little break in between. I don't want to go too hard for this unit, even though it would be nice to get. Yeah, I can definitely do some singles. I think he's worth doing some singles for. We'll probably go for a little while, because I would like to get him, but just in case he's bad, I'm not going to be pitying him. But I doubt he's bad. He's definitely going to be good. Like, his kit is already good enough to where he's going to be good. Even if he turns out he's not tanky enough, he's still going to be useful. Oh. Singles worked. It's amazing. I'm Gilbert, the Guildmaster of the Adventurers Guild in Psycha Village, one of the 4 Imperial Kings. I've got a note. One of the kings is a female, and I don't know if a female can be a king, because technically there's a queen, right? It's been a long time since I've been called that, right? We are done. We can finish. We don't need to pull anymore on this banner. Love that. Single pulls. That's why you do single pulls. Just so you know, if you don't know already, single pulls are the way to go in this game, because you don't get any benefit from doing a 10 pull in this game. The 10 pulls, you don't get any sale. The SR plus guaranteed, just ignore it. It doesn't matter, because it's not a higher chance for red, it's the same chance. So if you're free to play, always do singles, never do a 10 pull. Because, for instance, if you were to do a 10 pull, and you get the thing you want on the first pull, the first orb, then the other 9 orbs could have been saved crystals. Just some advice if anyone doesn't already know. So we're done. That banner's finished, which I'm quite happy with. I didn't think we would get that lucky. Now we can do some testing in a momento. Wish I didn't say that. In a moment, we will do some testing. For now, I just want to do a couple things first before we test him. So let's find where he is. He's going to be down there, right next to Kaine. He just keeps looking like Thor to me. Appreciate the artwork. That is some kind of dragon. It looks like, because there's teeth and a mouth. Some kind of dragon, which is nice. Looks very nice. I got to say, the artwork in this game always impresses me every time. Definitely one of the best games with the best graphics, in my opinion, for the artwork. I just like this type of artwork. So we'll come back to him in a moment. Let's go to the training space. Looks very cool. Reminds me of Lanceville. Very similar. Let's go to training space. So we've got, so we did 55 summons, which is actually amazing. That's so good. That's very lucky, because in most cases, I think average luck is around 120-ish, 125 or something pulls for a unit on average luck. For an arc, your arc in particular is like 200 or 300. Is stupid. I might as well just trade for Crimson Ore, but I'm going to do that later. I wanted to have a look at this. So here's the thing that I'm thinking of right now. I'm not going to be getting any of his paid equipments for the moment, but I will pull for his paid armor if he is discovered to being a very good tank in PvP. If he ends up being very good in PvP, then I will get his armor, but if he's kind of mid-average in PvP, then I don't think I will. That's where I'm standing right now, so I will save these credentials for the moment, just in case, because I'm considering getting this armor because it's very good, but only if he ends up being good, a good unit in PvP, which he's probably going to be. So now we've had a look at training space. I do want to go over to the Steam version in a second, but before I do that, I want to check the news just in case there's anything I'm missing, because it's a lot easier to do it now on the emulator. So yeah, if you log in today, you get all of this free stuff, which I think's nice. Some people aren't super excited about this. I think it's okay. Like, I'll always be happy with free stuff, so I'm not going to complain about it. I'm one of those guys that just takes what we get, and I don't worry too much about things. I just try and enjoy the game and not complain, so I think this is very nice. There is a very small chance you could get Gilbert or something from the temple ticket, so if you are a new player or if you're considering playing this game or coming back to it, now is a good time because you could get something from that temple ticket, or you could even re-roll, but I don't know if you re-roll and make a new account if you get that temple ticket. If you make a new one, maybe. You should do. The free daily temple gacha is a nice one to come back to if you're a new player or returning, because there are a few good things in here, like Shift Foul is still a very good DPS unit and one of the better units for a DPS in this game, so she's still amazing. If you manage to get Shift Foul from the daily free pools, then that's like the best thing you could get. And any SSR arc you're missing. And units like Shift Gorm, very good. Shift Gorm with the Siegfried Hearts is an incredibly good tank. 3k, 3000 crystals, just nice. This is the pack I bought earlier. It's up to you if you want to buy it, you don't really need to. I just wanted the God Relic Prisms. The Luminous Soul is nice. You don't really need to buy this, but it's up to you. I think it's good. Not really that big of a deal. And then the daily mission rewards are now 40 for a limited time, so make sure to do those. Sometimes I forget. Training promotions. I'm going to make sure to farm these, because I do actually need some Arc Ether rewards for arcs, so I'll try to remember to do that. This gives Prism Soul Shards if you need those, XP, all the normal stuff, nothing else really. So yeah, this update mostly just brings a 6 million download celebration, which gives you a few free things and daily gacha. Apart from that, it's just a normal update with a event with some story and a new unit and an arc, and that's kind of it. So it is still kind of a not much going on, but I still like that there is something that they're celebrating and they're giving out some free stuff, and the fact that we're getting some free tickets for a DOH banner is quite good in my opinion. Even though it isn't the best, I still think it's good that they're giving some stuff out. So yeah, there isn't really anything else I wanted to talk about. There's some Siegfried Hearts units, a new sticker stamp. Yeah, Siegfried Hearts for Melza could be interesting. Melza's not bad, but honestly she's kind of forgotten about, at least in my opinion. I don't use her anymore. I remember when she came out she was one of the better DPS units, but nowadays she isn't really. She's still a solid DPS, but there are other options. Advocate of God Lily I'm interested in. I'm considering getting her Siegfried Hearts because I like her. She's my favourite unit, so I might get her Siegfried Hearts. Maybe, but not at the moment. And then revisions. Lily gets more damage in a trait, which she's still terrible in PvP. Alice, more damage in a trait. Her Siegfried Hearts damage caps are actually pretty good. She gets 20,000 damage cap, so 40,000 damage cap in total for her special is actually pretty good. But I still don't think she's going to be amazing. She can be used though. Arena updates and yeah, nothing else really. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there for the news. Now I want to switch over to... Let's use the new sticker, and then I'll switch over to the Steam version, and then we can start messing around with Gilbert, which isn't the best name, but it's fine. Okay, let's close this, open up the other one. What I do every single time is make sure the game's updated before I start these streams, just so they're prepared. Makes it a lot quicker. Here we go. So what I want to do now is I do want to level up the arc as much as possible. I didn't think I would get it, so I didn't really save many souls, but whatever, it should be fine. I've still got a decent amount of red souls, should be fine. I do want to start testing out Gilbert in just the normal story stages, but don't expect too much because I can't really test how tanky he is, or I can't really test most of his skills yet. But what I will want to test is his charisma and how it synergizes with 2P and a couple of other units. So I do want to do a bit of testing, but most of my testing is always in PvE, and I don't really showcase PvP content because he isn't built, and if I want to showcase him in Arena, then he needs to be fully built. So, there is one UR arc I'm missing, but it's a terrible arc, and I kind of forgot it existed. It's Kronos UR arc from Queen Leona's banner. Let's level up this as much as possible. I do like this arc, and I'm quite happy with it. I can't get it to 20. How come not? How come I can't? Maybe I can if I go find some archiver somewhere, because sometimes if I go onto this arc I probably don't have here. Now I can get it. I always forget to redeem these. You might be one of those people that forget to redeem these. Also, if you're a new player, you're missing out on free crystals potentially from this, because on the old arcs and the old units in the library it had crystals instead. So if you're just realizing that, go check just in case. Let's level up this arc. So the all attribute damage taken will be very good. I'm looking forward to using this arc in PvP. This will definitely be quite valuable. That's quite funny. Add 1% of your defense to strength. Wow. 1%, what's that gonna do? Hardly nothing. 1% of your defense. Fine. Yeah, that's terrible. Counter shield. I'm considering putting counter shield on Garland and maybe Claude and just any tank. You know what? I'm probably just going to put on counter shield on every unit on my arena defense team. I think I might. I'm considering that. But Guile doesn't need counter shield because he doesn't attack, he just sits there, does nothing, so he's probably not going to get hit by a counter most of the time. Defense plus 35% buff is equivalent to a continuous Grand 4 effect, but for 10 seconds. Not that great. Now it's 40%, and all allies actually weakness damage taken minus 10% buff. Now it's minus 15% at level 9. Can't get it to level 10 yet, but that's fine. Still pretty good though. So at level 10 it will be minus 15% instead of 20. Okay, makes sense. 10% of your defense. I'm pretty sure 10%, wasn't that higher? Or was it 10%? I don't remember. At level 10, at level 15 it's 15, yeah, that's what I thought. So minus 20% and 15% at max level, but at level 10 it's 15% damage taken and 10% defense instead. Okay, makes sense. And you don't need to worry about arc skill because it doesn't have one, which is nice. So I might as well get this Archive reward because I do want it right now. So I'm gonna get it because I think it's pretty good. Very good. 4 Imperial Kings. I'm gonna favourite that right now because it's so good. Not amazing, but still very nice. So I assume these 4 are going to be released in the future. So we've got Gilbert right now. I don't know who the other 3 is. Don't tell me because I haven't done the story. Isn't that Thouser? That's weird. Huh. Okay. Well, there's probably some lore and stuff behind this. There always is. Definitely going to be reading that later. Not for the moment, probably not interested. So let's go to Gilbert. I want to level him up. I have so many rainbow potions. 11. If you're wondering how I got this many, just farming events. And make sure to press the sparkles on the guild thing, guild screen, because you could get a rainbow potion there too. It's worth doing. A lot of XP. Trying to get to level 57, but it's going to take a while. There's always someone better than you. I've learned that lesson. Well, I can't afford to take it easy, sure. So now I want to unlock everything. I should have the materials. I'm pretty sure I do. I know I'm running low on green clusters at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I have enough for now. Poor hammer. I wish he had a spear instead, but it's fine. They can still be tanky without a spear. A spear isn't necessary, it's just nice to have. Like Granadas has a spear. Having a spear tank, the most ideal, because spear boosts allow the unit to take less physical damage. It's very nice. I'm interested to see what his stats are going to look like after this, because with armor and everything, he should have some good health. He should do. I expect he's probably going to have quite a lot of health. It's going to be fun to try him out. Definitely an interesting unit, and we don't get tanks very often, so I do think he's going to be quite valuable. We don't get many tanks. I was thinking, when I was building my 2 forts in guild battles, I was kind of struggling a little bit because I realised we don't have many healers. We need another healer or something. We've got Theria, Spirit Maiden Theria, Rena, Moana, Sarah, but I would like someone similar to that. Would be nice to have another unit like that. So I'm pretty sure his lock-on effect should be the same, should perform the same way as Granadas and Ruuto, where you increase his mind to increase the chance of the lock-on effect. I definitely expect to start seeing Gilbert a lot in Arena. It's going to happen very soon. In the next few days, there's probably going to be a lot of people trying out Gilbert in Arena. He's new right now, so there's probably no one using him yet, but give it a day or two, and you're probably going to start seeing people using him in Arena. But I already know the counter that I'm going to be using against him, and that's going to be 9S. If you don't have 9S, that's your fault, not mine. Because if you skipped him, I feel bad, because he's just very good. Thunderblade. Almost done with this, I think. Yeah. Thor Hammer. It's already got 10,000 health, that's nice. So Anchor Bolts, yeah, is boost chance if mind is higher than that enemy's. Yeah, it's the same thing. Then Fulminator is the last one. There's definitely a few things I want to test. Like, I just thought, how would Fulminator work with Berserker or something like that? How would that work? I want to try that. Now let's have a look at recommended equipment. So I don't have his paid equipment yet, so I'm going to be doing more free-to-play equipment builds for the moment. As he's a tank, you're probably going to want to use an armor, and you can only equip an armor. I think it's definitely worth using a sword, because he does have some boosts for a sword when he has a sword equipped, I think. Two-handed sword boost or something. So, if I were to have a look at Thunder Swords, we don't really have many. Yeah, we don't really have any good Thunder Swords. Give physical attacks an anti-machine type effect. Maybe. But honestly, if you want him to be a tank, then the sword shouldn't really matter. That's what I'm mostly thinking of right now. I don't really care about him as a physical DPS, but if you want him to be a physical DPS for PvE content, then you can just put on any sword. I would recommend a sword, because he kind of needs a sword. So just put on any sword you want. If you want to benefit from Honey Elixir spam with Glass Record, so getting MP back from Glass Record, then keep saying wrong words. Goddess Kiss. If you want MP back from Goddess Kiss, you definitely need a Thunder weapon. And we don't have many Thunder Swords, but you probably should have a few. Mithril Sword is a Godforged sword, so you could use this. It gives some defense and strength, it could be okay. So yeah. If you want to benefit from Goddess Kiss, MP, procs, and make him an SET spam unit, then make sure to use a Thunder weapon, but if you don't care about that, then just go for any weapon you want. For the moment, I would probably just look for the weapon with the highest defense. Yeah, those are pretty good pulls, so I'm happy how they went. They went pretty well. Amazing. Definitely better after the recent pulls that I've had, but I did have some pretty good luck with Ryu. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any interesting swords. Actually, I lied, there's one. This one. Use this one. Because plus 3% guard rate, when automatic guard activates, minus 5% damage. Pretty sure that's the one I'm thinking of. It's decent. It's probably the best option for a tank, question mark. So I would probably use that, but for the moment I'm just going to go with Muramasa because it's easy to use. Now for an armor, this is what I was thinking about earlier. Use this, and I think you'll be fine. This Godforge, Shine Plate Gold words is definitely very good, so I would recommend to use this. Physical damage taken minus 20%, even though it's not all damage, it's still good because you take less physical damage, but you don't take less counter damage or anything with this armor, which sucks. Which, obviously his paid armor is going to be better, but you don't need his paid armor. This one's just fine. You can use that fine. You could also use this if you want to. Even gives him fire and dark resistance if you care about that. Allows him to take less critical damage. Could be useful. This one, also very good. Any of these three I would recommend. Apart from that, there isn't really anything else that I would recommend using. But if you don't have any of those three, then just kind of have a look at what you have. If you're using him for PvP, then you definitely want to look for an armor that allows him to take less damage, especially physical damage, because he's mostly going to be a tank for physical. This one's a maybe. We had this recently. Take 12% less physical damage. Maybe. It's a free-to-play option. It's not the best one, but the best free-to-play option is definitely this one. I'm going to be using that. So these two, for the moment. And then accessories, honestly, gets a bit more difficult. Because I'm trying to think. If you want him to be a tank, obviously you want accessories that allow him to take less damage. But if you don't want him to be a tank and you just want him to be a DPS in PvE, then you can just go for anything that increases his thunder damage or physical damage. Movement speed would be quite useful, I think, so Mithril Relief again, I pretty much always say this, but I would recommend using this if you want him to be a DPS because he does use a sword, so you could use this, give him more movement speed and skill damage, sure, why not? I'm probably going to use that. Other options, well, I do like this accessory quite a lot, so I'd probably recommend this on him if you want him to be used as a tank. Because it gives 10 resistance to everything, apart from light and dark. and 10% less damage taken from Fire, Earth, and Thunder. So 10% less damage taken from Guile and 2P includes their counter damage. That's why I think this is very nice. And it gives health too. I think this is a good accessory to use. I would definitely want to use that if I were to use him as a tank in PvP. And then I would probably go for another accessory that increases his Earth resistance by at least 10 more to make his Earth resistance at least 0. I think that's probably my plan for now. Anything else? Well, not really that much, if I think about it. Revive accessory if you want to. Obviously this one for a tank is definitely one of the best accessories for a tank. So this gives element resistances, which he does need. Very important for him and will help. So I think this will be nice on him. If you're up against the V, there are ways around it, because you could put on 2 accessories that give resistance to everything, but I don't know about that yet, because that may not be a good idea, I don't know. Chance Auto Guard, yeah, this one's always good for a tank. I like it. That's if you want to go for a full guard focused build. Continuous Matisse effect, I don't think he has continuous Matisse effect, does he? If not, then I think this would be useful, actually. This one, obviously, if you want him to do more damage, you could use it, up to you. That one's nice. Obviously, skill damage is going to be nice if you want it to be a damage dealer, and that's kind of it. I'm going to definitely be putting on the accessory from the Urarok, because I think it's very good. Gives ice resistance, good stats, the trait's very good. I'm definitely going to be using that. And for the second accessory, I think for the PvE showcase, I'm just going to be using Mithril Relief. So I'm going to go with this setup. This is kind of free to play because this is from the Urarok, so if you don't have it, you can use something else. There are other options, like I said. So just go with what you have and make sure to have something similar to this, but it depends on where you're using him, what content you're using him as. In PvP, just focus on tank, 100%. You don't want him to be doing damage in arena, just tank. But PvP, PvE I mean, you could build him whatever you like. He can be built different ways. He can be a support, a tank, a damage dealer, or all of them at the same time. Up to you. But I think I would probably like him as a tank and support, because having a tank with this charisma in my head sounds very amazing, because I think this is the first time we've had a tank with a charisma like this, which gives damage cap and damage. So he's going to be able to survive quite well, which means this charisma should be active pretty much most of the time, because he shouldn't be dying easily. So I do like that idea, because if you're using a mage like F-Secus or a squishy DPS unit that has a charisma for damage in PvE, then they might die, and then you have to waste time casting the charisma again. But Gilbert probably isn't going to die. He should survive pretty well. So he will definitely help you clear content, because you can just make him the main lore tank and have his charisma up and use an thunder DPS unit like 2P and clear everything in the game quite easily, probably. So yeah, that's my build for the moment. His HP and defense looking pretty good at the moment already. And I don't even have any skills on him, just the base equipments. Let's awaken a couple times, and then I wanted to start testing him out a little bit. That's all I can do for the moment. Isn't really a big deal. Awakening is always useful because more stats isn't the most important thing, but for a tank, I think stats are more important than usual. For DPS units and tanks, stats are useful, because getting more HP and defense for a tank is just always going to be good. So I'm going to leave it there for the moment. and I want to start trying him out. So let's now go to a different team, put him by himself and try him out, see how he does with Council of 10. Then I can test him out. So this won't be the best test, but I just want to test his damage for the moment, which I don't expect it to be very high. Yeah, I hit Arena a lot of the time. I've gotten rank 1 in the newer Arena, whatever you want to call it, twice, which is pretty good. I'm still not a huge fan of how the ranking works, but I kind of just accepted it at this point. So let's use the Council of 10 arc skill, see what his skill stocks are like, and then just start using skills and see how he does for the moment. So his base skill stocks will be 5, 2, and 3, which is okay. So he already has 2 skill stocks of his skill 2. So probably I would recommend to have skill stock 2 to increase his skill stock of his skill 2 by 1, which would make it 3, like what it was right now. Reason why they are 6, 3, and 4 right now is because of the Council of 10 arc skill. So let's start just seeing how this is very slow. Only 2 hit normal attack, yeah, he's not going to be a good SCT unit because his normal attack's not very good. It's only 2 hits, and it's very slow, so I wouldn't recommend him as an SCT unit. S1 though, interesting. So it's like a slam down. It seems to be faster than when they're closer, which is interesting. His skill 2 is his main one. Now he's got the lock-on debuff. Can't target others apart from the effects activator, which is just a weird way to say can only target that enemy. So this debuff lasts for 10 seconds, by the way, which isn't that much. 10 seconds isn't much, but it's mostly for PvP, and in PvP 10 seconds is still a solid time. You know, his damage is not terrible for the moment already, it's okay. Obviously not the best. Yeah, the lock-on is not guaranteed unless he has higher mind. It's got higher chance. Skill 1 seems pretty fast. Skill 2 isn't very fast, but it's got the lock-on effect debuff. Skill 3 is okay. Yeah, he's not doing a whole lot of damage now, but the enemy has 0 thunder weakness. Okay, resistance. Yeah, so yeah, he's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage, but this is base skills. Which is okay. So I want to try one thing before we get into some other things like charisma and the unit test play quest. So I just want to see what the synergy is like when he can reduce his own HP. So the way I'm going to be doing that is by using probably this, continuously cut HP. I just want to see what happens, because I don't know. How will this work? So he's going to continuously lose health, and what will happen with the fulminator buff? Will it activate? What will happen? I don't know. He's going to keep healing because of heal guard. I should have thought of that. I don't want him to heal. I just want him to die. Or at least get to low health to see what happens. Yeah, skill 1's pretty fast. I do like the skill 1. It's pretty nice. Yeah, they got minus 50 thunder resistance too. So, I want to see if the fulminator buff will activate from like self damage or something. Oh, there you go. So here is the fulminator buff is active right now. So it cuts damage taken, and now his max HP is 920. So this is what I was thinking. His paid armor said, you know, the lower his health, the more defense you get. Well, this is max HP, so when he's at 920 max HP, so when he's at, right now he's 918. If he's at max HP, so 920 out of 920, then I don't think he's going to get any benefit from his paid armor defense, because it counts him as max HP. $37. Okay, so now he's taken 1 damage from everything. The buff is going to disappear. And now he has 748 health left. So that's a problem. I notice a problem. And that is the fact that once the buff goes away, he's probably dead. Because he has the same amount of health that he did when the buff finished. So now he's probably dying. Probably going to die. Okay, Indomitable Spirit activated. Okay, that's actually good. You're definitely going to need a healer in the team. That's going to be very important. Yeah, he's not doing a whole lot of damage here. Okay. Now I want to try a Thunder team. Just to show his charisma off a bit. Isn't really going to be a showcase for him, but I just want to show his charisma. So let's put on him and 2P.
Understood.
Should be fine. Put on Honey Elixir and now that's fine. So I just want to see how this goes. This is just showcasing his charisma buffing 2P, which I don't have a perfect build on, but it doesn't really matter too much.
Enemy located. I'm going to engage.
I guess what I can do is use one of her skills first to see the base damage. So damage cap without charisma 51,000, and now with the charisma 55,000. Isn't that much of a difference? 4,000, 1, 2. I feel like should be more than that. Yeah, charisma boosts it by 2,000. Trait 1 should boost it by another 6,000. Right? $54,000. I don't know. It's still good though. I needed to test that a bit more. It should be giving 2P plus 8,000 damage cap. I think. Pretty sure. I just did this. Instead. Now we have a full Thunder team just for the sake of it. You could do this with Ryu as well. Ryu will get more damage cap because he's single wield. Oh, now I don't have the stupid SCT. Right. I'm gonna go into the unit test play quest in a moment just to try him out again a bit in there, and then there's probably not much else that I want to do today. Let's just put on Councillor 10 and try this one more time.
Enemy located. I'm going to engage.
So 47,900. Now we've got Charisma. 53,900. Okay. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that was 6,000 damage cap, I think, or something like that. So, yeah, okay. That's just all I wanted to show it. The charisma is very good for buffing other Thunder units in the team, so all you really need is just him and 2P. Like, this is the team I was thinking of earlier. You have 2P as the main damage dealer, him as the tank, and then Renner as the healer support. This would probably be a very good team for PvE, and I am interested into trying that out, because I just think it'll be a very good team, for sure. I think it'll be great. So I'm going to leave that there. Don't need to test that anymore. Let's try the unit test play quest thing. Why not? Isn't really much to test there though. Oh yeah, his special. I haven't done that yet. So this is him at 6 enhance, base skills, paid equipment, 25,000 health. Damage right now is still terrible, okay, expected because he's a tank, so yeah. Yeah, his damage isn't very good. The enemy even has 100 thunder weakness, so yeah, I don't really recommend him to be a damage dealer. But this is base skills, you could make it work, but I don't recommend trying, because he's better off being a tank instead. Let's try the special, but it's not going to do a whole lot. Big number, another big number. Yeah, you see big number, you think it's very good. It's decent. It will do a lot more if you get hit, which I actually want to test that out in a minute. Okay, I do kind of like the skills. They're not super slow, they're not super fast either. I do think the skill 1 is pretty fast, but it is not super important since, like I've said many times, he's just going to be a tank. So, I want to try him in PvE one more time to test out his special, because I think it could be pretty good. I have an idea. It's going to be him. He's got to take a lot of hits, because as you know, he's got to take like 300 hits, which would take ages. So let's do Eldravana or Eldravana. Probably just Eldravana. Second unit can be doesn't matter. Don't think so. Not really. I just want to support or something. If I have a thunder unit, then yeah, I need Great Wall of Ruin, obviously, to use a special. And just someone else for something. You know what? You technically count as a thunder unit. Then I can use Theophilus. That's probably just good enough. So I just want to try out his special here. I'm gonna just allow him to get hit a bunch of times, and then when I get bored, I'm gonna use his special and see how much it does. So he needs to get hit a lot, like 300 times, but that's not gonna happen, is it? No, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna sit here and wait for 300 hits, okay? Trust me, I won't. I just wanna sit here a little bit just to see some difference at least. Yeah, this would take ages if I were to do this. Okay, I'm gonna wait a tiny bit more. And then I'm gonna use something. Theophilus? Yeah. Might as well try now. Oh yeah, this is just a one enemy though. That's what I'm just remembering, which I hate. Oh yeah, it's still not hitting damage cap, but I should have expected that. You know, I could try like a main damage team, but yeah, he's still not doing a whole lot of damage. Okay, well, I think I'm done with testing him in PvE for now, because there isn't really... I didn't really want to test his damage or anything too much, because he's not really going to be a good damage dealer. Just from seeing that, I don't recommend to try and force him to be a damage dealer in PvE. I think it's better off... You're better off just making him a tank support, I think. Obviously, he can work in story for a DPS, but there are other units that will work better than that. So, anything else I want to do now? Get some crystals for that. I think I'll have a look at the event quickly and probably finish up there, maybe. Because arena... So if I were to use him, Gilbert, in arena, how would I make a team around him? Well, attack team I probably wouldn't use him, unless you want him to be a main tank, but like, if you've got Guile, then he should always be your main tank every time in arena, like always. So, don't replace him with Gilbert. But you could, if you want, you could try replacing him with Gilbert, but then you won't be doing any counter damage, which is the problem. For a defense, though, I think Gilbert on defense could be interesting, but you kind of need a healer, so I don't know if I should be putting him on my defense. I'm thinking about it. You know, if he has decoy or a revive, then if he dies from the fulminator buff, then he's going to revive anyway, so maybe he'll still work on defense. I am definitely going to be trying him out once he's built. Yeah, Nael is quite a good PvP unit. There aren't many people that use her, but I like her a lot. Just because she's plus 30, because she's one of my favourite units. She's one of the most interesting units in my opinion, because she's very cool. She's a very good damage dealer, not many people use her, so she's not really defended against much. But she is very good. I just think she's not the best, but she can work. I guess I'll have a quick look at the event, and then, I mean, there isn't really much here with this event. There is a story which just kind of talks a bit about Gilbert, some story behind him. There isn't really that much. I at least like that there is story, because having some story is something instead of nothing is better, so I guess that's fine. Nice. Prism will be useful for sure. What rewards do we have? Okay, these will be useful. There's a ticket right here. I didn't notice that before, because I haven't actually checked it. So on day 3, there's a ticket right there. And day 4. Not day 5. No. Yep. No. So 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 more tickets in day 3, 4, and 7. So remember that. For that reason, you probably don't want to do any pulls until you get those 3 tickets, because you never know. You could get incredibly lucky and get something like Gilbert from those 3 tickets, you never know. Worth a try. High difficulty challenge was quite easy, I've already done it. These are always easy. Yeah, there isn't really anything I want to talk about with this event. So, Ryvern is better in PvE. He's not a great unit, honestly, but he isn't very good in PvP. He's not used in PvP at all, but in PvE, he can be used. I just think he's a fun unit and I like him. That's the only reason why I use him for like multiplayer or story content, just because he's fun. He's not super viable, he's not the best, but he's still decent. Like, he's just a DPS at the end of the day. But not the best DPS, he's mostly just a damage dealer in that sense. Doesn't have great DPS, but good damage caps. You can probably refer to the tier list if you want to check any of the units. That's the best place to check if you want to see any information about units. So I think I'm going to leave it there for today, because I have talked about everything with Gilbert, so I think it's quite good. I'll do my conclusion in a second. I do think he's going to be a nice tank. I did some testing with him. He seemed to be definitely more focused as a tank, because his damage just wasn't there. I couldn't get him to reach damage cap at all, but that was only with base skills. So it could probably be possible to make him a damage dealer, but I don't recommend it at all. I just think his modifiers are going to be too low. So if you get him, I just think it's best to focus on making him a tank and a support. So focus on a tank and charisma, and you should be good. He should be performing pretty well if you build him the right way, which is probably a tank. So yeah, that's just what I think at the moment. I guess my conclusion for today is I think Gilbert is going to be quite an interesting tank, mostly focused on PvP, but he does have a good charisma for PvE as well, so PvE he can be good because of the charisma only, but his main focus is definitely for PvP and probably guild battles, because he's got a skill that's specifically for guild defense. I don't know anything about other servers, honestly, so I can't really say what's going on other servers. Claudia's great. I don't really know what's going on in that server, so can't really say. So Gilbert, I think he's going to be very good. I need to do more testing with him. I can't say for sure if he's going to be top tier or anything yet, but I can say that he is going to be good no matter what. But I do recommend to not really pull too hard and wait for other people to test him first and kind of see how he performs in arena before you pull, because he may not be amazing, because if he can't tank units like Guile or 2P, then he kind of loses his purpose. So that's just where I'm at right now. He could be very good in guild battles, but the question is if he can tank magic and stuff like that. I don't really know yet. The fulminator buff could allow him to tank well enough, but I don't know yet. Really gonna have to see how he performs after some testing, so I'll probably be back in 2 weeks to say about that. The arc, I think the arc's actually pretty good, but it isn't worth chasing. Like I say for most of your arcs, you don't need to chase it. It's not a game changer, but it is a very good arc, and is going to be very good for PvP. But if you don't care about PvP, then just ignore this arc, you don't really need it, because there isn't really any value here for PvE apart from fair and square, but it's a bit expensive, so I would argue that's not even that great. Archive reward is very good. Not much to say about that, it's just a very good archive reward, so yeah. I think it's a very solid arc, and it's a decent unit too, but he needs more testing to really see how good he performs in PvP, because nobody's fully built him yet. It's going to take people time before they properly test him out. But he does have a lot of interesting skills, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they perform, because he's quite unique, has a lot of unique skills. And we don't get many tanks in this game. We've only got a couple tanks. Ruuto, Granadas, that's just to name a few. But yeah, we don't have many tanks, so having a more tank in this game, another tank in this game, is valuable by itself. So yeah, that's just where I'm at with Gilbert right now. I think he's going to be good, but I don't know how tanky he's going to be until I properly test him out fully built in arena. So I'm going to leave that there. There is still the Valentine banner gacha up right now, but honestly, between these two, they aren't super crazy. Like, they're nothing you must have, but the LR on this banner is probably the best thing to get if you care about PvP, because the learnable skills it has are just very good. So I would recommend to try to get this if you care about PvP at all, because I've been using the skills on it already and it is very useful. I'd like them a lot. But if you're a newer player, probably pull on the Descent of Heroes banner, because you could get lucky and get either Gilbert or some other DOH unit, because there are some other off-rate up DOH units that you could get, which could be good for your account. So that's something to think about. You could even get someone like Spirit Maiden Theria, which is still one of the best healers in the game, one of the best supports, so there's a chance. You could reroll, try for something if you want, it's up to you, but it's a decent banner, just not the best. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Make sure to do the free pulls, get the tickets first, don't waste crystals until you've used all your tickets. There are a couple of tickets in the event, so get those first. Make sure to go to your present box, get the free temple ticket, and yeah. That's everything from me. I am very tired of talking for almost 2 hours. I really need a drink and have a break, and then I'll probably come back to start building him. And then I'll be back with another stream in 2 weeks from now, and that will probably be another unit or something. I have no idea what the next unit's going to be in 2 weeks. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. There could be like some rerun collabs or something coming around. I don't know. I have no idea what's coming up. I haven't thought about it. We're just going to have to wait and see. We don't have any information at the moment. So, probably just keep saving most of your crystals. That's what I would recommend, because none of this is a super must-have, but there are a lot of useful things for PvP at the moment, and they are really focusing on PvP content, which I'm not super happy with, because PvP is just focused around counter and limited skills and limited arcs and units, so it's not really the best right now. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Hopefully you get lucky with your tickets, because there is a chance you could get something from the temple ticket, you never know. Yeah, I'm glad people like these videos. I like doing these. Well, they're streams that I edit, or I add the timestamps, so they're useful for people. I do like doing these. They're a lot easier for me, and I enjoy doing these more than an actual video, because a video is just a lot more work if I were to edit it. Well, I can't really show anything on Arena right now. I'm going to be testing him in Arena at some point, but I just like doing these streams every time a new unit releases, because that's just how the schedule is at the moment, and I've been enjoying that. So, Arena can be very difficult for newer players. I understand that. What I would recommend in Arena is probably check other people's builds and their teams to see how they are doing. I think that's everything I wanted to say. So, I will be adding the timestamps very soon, later today. Just look out for that. Makes it a lot easier to watch these, because I'm sure you don't want to watch a whole 2 hours, which is fine. You can just skip to the whatever you want to watch. So yeah, I'll leave it there for now. I'll see you in like 2 weeks for the next stream, the next unit. This is kind of the schedule for the moment. So yeah, have fun with this event.